You're listening to The Deep Dive with Mike and Mandy.
All right, so today we're diving into traffic lights.
Traffic lights.
Yeah, no, not exactly the most thrilling topic, but I think you'll be surprised. I recently dug into this book, Red Light, Green Light, and let me tell you, there's a lot more to these signals than meets the eye.
Oh, I bet. Like what?
Well, did you know the very first traffic light actually exploded?
Exploded. Seriously.
Seriously. And that's just the beginning. We're going to go all the way from those explosive beginnings to the future of traffic lights. We're talking smart cities and all that.
Okay, I'm intrigued now. So where do we start?
Let's rewind all the way back to 1868, London. Picture it. Horse-drawn carriages, pedestrians everywhere.
Yeah, I can see it. Organized chaos.
Exactly. And right in the middle of it all, they put up the world's first traffic signal. Right outside the Houses of Parliament, no less.
Wow, talk about a high-profile debut.
Right. But here's the thing. It wasn't electric. It was gas-powered.
Gas-powered? How did that work?
It had two arms, kind of like a semaphore, to signal stop and go. They even added red and green gas lights to make it extra clear.
Sounds pretty fancy for the time.
Oh, it was. But there was a problem, a big one. It exploded.
Exploded.
Yeah, after only a month. And get this, the policeman operating it was injured.
Ouch. So much for progress.
Right. It makes you wonder what that policeman was thinking. Like, is this thing really worth it?
I can only imagine. But hey, early innovation, right? Always a few bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Or explosions, as the case may be.
So true. But, got to ask, what did they learn from that explosive mishap?
Well, I think the biggest lesson was that safety and reliability had to be top priorities. I mean, you don't want your traffic signals blowing up every other week. So they started looking for something more stable, more controllable. And that eventually led to, you guessed it, electricity.
Uh-huh. So the light bulb moment, so to speak, wasn't just for lighting. It was for traffic control, too. Makes sense.
Exactly. And that paved the way for the traffic lights we know today. But of course, the story doesn't end there.
Oh, no, not by a long shot. So we've had our taste of drama, right? Let's fast forward a bit, shall we? Let's get into the early 1900s. Enter the automobile.
Ah, yes. Suddenly, everyone wants one of these newfangled horseless carriages.
And those horse-drawn carriages, well, they start to look pretty quaint in comparison.
You can say that again. And the streets? Well, they weren't exactly designed for this kind of traffic,
I bet. All those cars zipping around.
And guess what? Traffic jams start popping up everywhere. And of course, accidents. Lots of them.
I can only imagine. It's like trying to cram, a square peg in a round hole. Those old ways of managing traffic. Not cutting it anymore.
Exactly. They desperately needed a new system, something more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Enter Garrett Morgan.
Now, this is a name everyone should know. Garrett Morgan, a brilliant African-American inventor, really changed the game in 1923.
He did. He invented the first electric traffic light.
Which, as you can imagine, was a huge step forward in terms of, everything, right? Safety, reliability.
Oh, absolutely. But there's more to it than that. Morgan's design wasn't just electric, it was a three-position system.
A three-position system? What's that?
Well, we had stop and go, of course, but he added a third signal, all stop.
All stop. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
It was revolutionary. Think about it. All traffic from every direction had to stop completely before anyone could go.
So basically, he invented the traffic light system we use today.
Pretty much. I mean, there have been refinements and updates over the years, but the core concept was there.
Wow. So this guy, Garrett Morgan, he really laid the groundwork for how we manage traffic today.
He absolutely did. And it makes you think, right? One person's invention can have such a massive impact.
It really does. But I read that Morgan sold his patent to General Electric for $40,000. Which, when you think about the impact his invention has had, seems incredibly low.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? We have to remember the context of the time. $40,000 in 1923 was a lot of money, but... Well, Morgan faced a lot of challenges as an African-American inventor. It's likely that those challenges impacted his ability to, really benefit from his invention.
It's a good point. Makes you wonder what other incredible inventions might have been overlooked or undervalued.
Exactly. But getting back to the traffic light... So we have electricity, the three-light system. Things are starting to look a little more familiar, right? What happened next?
Well, Morgan's invention really took off in the 1930s. Traffic lights were popping up everywhere. But there was a bit of a problem.
Problem? What kind of problem?
Well, it turns out that not everyone agreed on what a traffic light should look like.
You're kidding.
Nope. There was no standard design. Some places had different colors, different placements. It was a mess.
Wait, so even with this amazing invention, there was no consistency?
It's a classic example of how even brilliant ideas often go through a period of, refinement, standardization.
So how did they finally get everyone on the same page?
Well, in 1935, the United States finally adopted the red, yellow, and green color scheme we all know and love today.
Ah, the classic traffic light colors.
And it wasn't just the colors. The placement of red on top and green on bottom was also a deliberate choice.
Oh, why is that?
They did it for colorblind drivers.
Really? That's fascinating. So it wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about accessibility too.
Exactly. They wanted to make sure everyone could understand and use the system safely.
Makes sense. So we've got the standard design down, but traffic lights have clearly come a long way since then. What happened next?
Well, as you can imagine, traffic just kept getting heavier and heavier.
I can imagine.
And it became pretty clear that a static system just wasn't going to cut it anymore.
Static? What do you mean?
Well, imagine a traffic light that just cycles through the lights on a fixed timer, regardless of how much traffic there is.
Okay. Yeah, that wouldn't be very efficient.
Not at all. We needed a system that could adapt, a system that could react to what was actually happening on the roads.
Okay, so how did they do that?
That's where things get really interesting.
Well, think about rush hour. All those cars backed up. What if there was a system that could sense the increase in traffic and, adjust the timing of the lights?
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. No more sitting at a red light when there's no one coming the other way.
Exactly. So in the 1960s, they started putting sensors in the roads.
Sensors? What kind of sensors?
These sensors could detect the presence of vehicles. So basically, they could tell when there was traffic waiting, and then they could relay that information back to the traffic signal.
So the lights could actually react to the traffic in real time. That's pretty cool.
It was a big step forward. And as technology kept advancing, the sensors got even better. They added cameras, even radar, to get a better picture of what was going on.
Hold on. Cameras and radar. Are we talking about traffic lights or surveillance systems?
Well, it's not Big Brother, but it does allow us to collect a lot more data about how traffic moves through our cities. And with better computers, we could start analyzing that data in real time.
So now we're not just reacting to the immediate situation, we're anticipating and adapting to patterns. That's some next level stuff.
It is. We're talking about adaptive traffic lights. These lights can use all that data to make decisions about the timing.
Okay, so what kind of decisions are we talking about?
Well, they can prioritize emergency vehicles, for example, or adjust to weather conditions. They can even reroute traffic around accidents.
Wow, that's amazing. It's come a long way from that exploding gas light, hasn't it? It's incredible how technology can take something so simple and make it so complex. But where do we go from here? What's next for traffic lights?
To answer that, we need to talk about smart cities.
Smart cities. I've heard that term thrown around, and I'm not really sure what it means.
So imagine a city where everything is connected. Transportation, energy, communication, all working together seamlessly.
Sounds pretty futuristic.
Yeah.
But what do traffic lights have to do with it?
Traffic lights are already strategically placed throughout a city, and they're connected to a network. They're in a perfect position to become even smarter.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here. But we're talking about more than just adaptive lights responding to traffic.
Exactly. One of the most exciting things on the horizon is vehicle-to-infrastructure communication. V2I, for short.
V2I? What in the world is that?
Imagine your car could actually talk to the traffic lights.
My car having a conversation with a traffic light. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It might sound crazy, but it's not that far off. With V2I, cars can send and receive information from everything around them, including traffic lights.
Okay, so what kind of information are we talking about?
Well, your car could tell the traffic light how fast it's going, where it is, even where it wants to go.
So basically my car could say, hey, traffic light, I'm coming through. Stay green a little longer.
Exactly. It's like a personalized green wave, just for you.
Oh.
But it's not just about making our commutes faster. V2I can make things safer too.
Really? How so?
Think about an ambulance racing to the hospital. With V2I, it could communicate with the traffic lights and create a green corridor so it gets there as fast as possible.
Wow, that's incredible. We're talking about saving lives here. But what about pedestrians and cyclists? How does V2I help them?
That's a great question. V2I has the potential to make streets safer for everyone. A cyclist, for example, could send a signal to the traffic light, letting it know they're approaching. The light could then give them priority, making sure they can cross safely.
So we're not just talking about efficiency, we're talking about making a safer system for everyone.
Exactly. And we can't forget about self-driving cars. V2I will be crucial for integrating them into our cities. They'll need to communicate with traffic signals to navigate safely and efficiently.
So V2I is like the key to this whole smart city thing.
It's a big part of it, for sure. It's about creating a smarter, more connected, more responsive transportation system.
It all sounds amazing, but I have to ask, are there any downsides? What about privacy? If our cars are constantly sending out information, who has access to it?
That's a valid concern. With any new technology that involves data, we need to be very careful.
So it's not just about the cool tech, it's about using it responsibly.
Absolutely. We need to have open and honest conversations about these issues and make sure we have the right safeguards in place.
So smart cities and V2I aren't just about technological advancements. They're about being thoughtful and making sure we use technology for good.
You got it. It's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's also exciting. We're on the verge of some major changes, and it's up to us to make sure those changes benefit everyone.
I couldn't agree more. Well, that's the big question, isn't it? It's something a lot of people are talking about. Will we even need traffic lights in a world full of self-driving cars?
It's a good question. I mean, think about it. No more red lights, no more stopping and starting, just cars flowing smoothly through intersections.
Right. It's a pretty appealing vision.
Yeah.
The idea is that if all the cars are autonomous and they can talk to each other and to a central system, well, they wouldn't need traffic lights to keep things organized.
Yeah. It'd be like a perfectly choreographed dance of cars. But I have to imagine some people might be a little hesitant to completely ditch the traffic lights, you know?
Oh, absolutely. There are definitely some concerns. What if something goes wrong with the technology? What if the algorithms make a mistake? Some people worry that it could lead to more accidents, not fewer.
Makes sense. So it's like we're trying to balance the potential of this new technology with the reliability of the old system.
Exactly. And it's not an easy balance to strike.
So what do you think? What's going to happen with traffic lights?
Well, it's hard to say for sure. I mean, it depends on a lot of things. How quickly self-driving cars become mainstream, how good the communication systems are, and of course, whether people actually trust this new technology.
It sounds like it's not just a technology question, it's a social question too.
Exactly. It's about finding the right balance between innovation and safety, between efficiency and human control. And it's a conversation we need to be having now while all this is still developing.
Well, you've definitely given me a lot to think about. From those first explosive gas lights to the possibility of a world without red lights.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
And it shows how much we've accomplished, right? And how creative humans can be, always trying to find ways to make things better, even if it means starting with a few explosions along the way.
That's a great way to put it.
And to our listeners, next time you're sitting at a red light, take a moment to appreciate the journey, right? Think about how far we've come. And maybe, just maybe, imagine what those lights or lack of lights might look like in the future. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into traffic lights.
Until next time.